I'm back. Hello and welcome, everyone. We are live after round 20 of the AFL Fantasy season with only 4 rounds left to go. We are here to recap all the action. I am your host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic, Tim Guest, and you can find me on socials at Tim Guest AU. And for those listening on the pod, it's Sunday, the 28th of July. Come join us next time live on YouTube or X. Now, thanks to those who sent in their questions. And if you want a question answered, simply comment on the platform you're watching and we'll get to as many as we can at the end. Now, joining me as always is my co-host and AFL Fantasy Fanatic. It's Bails, DT. Bails, mate, how was your weekend? We got, mate, only 4 rounds to go after this round. So how are you feeling coming into the end of the season?
I'm the whole drive home, just got back from the Crows game, absolutely fuming. I don't think I've ever seen such a bad performance from the Crows in a long time.
That's
And
why I asked you about your fantasy team, mate.
Yeah, so it's hard to look at fantasy when you sort of we'll get through my score and stuff. But I think the top 100 dream is probably done for me now. I feel like the Jordan Sweet trade, Cherry to Jordan Sweet, has haunted me since I did it in round 7, and it's like it's gotten worse and worse. Like the more weeks has gone on, something's happened where that would like Cherry's just gone. Cherry's averaged like over 110 since I traded him out. So that's haunted me. I feel like I'm watching Supernatural. Any Supernatural people out there will probably get this reference. I feel like one of the demons that just won't die, and then all of a sudden this week was just the final nail in the coffin, and it's done. So that's how my fantasy team's feeling. But besides that, not too bad.
All right, mate. All right. Well, joining us tonight, we've got the resident AFL Fantasy Stats and Analysis Guru. It's Jaden Popowski. Jaden, how are you, mate?
Good, thank you. And yeah, great to be on and chat through the round. I had a pretty decent round and got a bit of momentum towards the back of the year, so pretty happy with that.
Hey, mate, look, unannounced question. I was just thinking about this. Well, I kind of tend to drift off sometimes while Bales is dribbling about how bad the Crows are. And I started to think, what for you, I guess, this year has been the kind of the biggest learning or takeaway from your kind of analysis of the fantasy game this year?
Yeah, great question. Always trying to learn and things like that. I guess for me this year, in terms of being a better coach, I've focused a bit more on trading and planning my trades into the future, like what I'm going to be doing in the next few weeks, which has gone all right. Still not very good at it, but yeah. And then the main thing I'm focusing on stats wise is like projecting scores and things like that. And I think the biggest thing I've focused on is kind of how variable scores actually are. Like I can predict a fair bit, but not really. At the same time, like people get beat up about my player scored 80 when they could have scored 100, and like that's just how the game goes. Like there's a fair bit of variation in the game, so don't get too upset when things don't go exactly to plan, because yeah, that's just the natural error in the game. So and yeah, so things are probably never as good as they seem, and things are probably never as bad as they seem.
And it probably is. I mean, I've kind of had the experiences this year. It's probably been one of those years where things have been thrown around more than probably they have any other year.
Yeah, there's been a bit of that. But yeah, like we back ourselves in and we go, this is what's going to happen. And sometimes it's just, another coach gets that good luck and then you're on the other end of it and it doesn't quite work out. But I think for me, I'm trying to not, beat myself up if I make a bad decision based on that, because, if you're in the kind of in the zone, you're not too far away. You can't really beat yourself up for if the game didn't plan out. Like today, you probably wouldn't have expected the Dogs to go so amazingly against the Swans, but that's just the natural variation in the game. So yeah, that's been my biggest learning.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Awesome. Well, kick us off, mate. How did you go this week? What would you score? What's your round rank and where's your overall rank?
All right. I'm not sure on my round rank. I haven't looked at that yet, but I scored a flat 2,500, which is really good.
Wow. Yeah.
I've moved up about 1,000. I'm now at 4,500. And Not sure if the round rank would be in yet. Yeah, I think pretty good. I'm a little bit disappointed because as I was talking about my projections, I didn't know what to do with trades this week, so I decided to let the computer decide completely. So I wrote it up and I did the trades exactly what it told me to. And then looking back now, I realized I made a small error and I didn't include DPPs in my calculation. So I ended up trading in Ridley and Andy Brayshaw. Obviously, Ridley got injured, but can't do anything about that, so I'm not really that disappointed. But if I had the DPPs in there, Ed Richards would have been the optimal move. So the computer was right, and I just didn't use it properly. So
there you go.
Really frustrating. I could have been in the top 10 for the round if I did that properly.
Wow, that would have been a round and a half. All right, Bails, what about you, mate?
I scored the 2,400 flat, so 100 less than Jaden here. And Jaden, looks like here you would have been about 1,000 or just inside top thousands for weeks. Obviously, a massive week for you. And then 100 points less had me at a round rank of just outside 10 or just inside 11,000. As I said, not the week I needed with trying to chase down this top 100. I'm probably going to be outside of 400 points by now. So essentially, got to be 100 points a week. So I've got to have pretty much 4 top 500 weeks, I reckon, to catch it up. So probably not likely, but we'll still push on.
Yeah. All right. Well, a 24-17 for me had me around ranked at about 8,336 and moved me up to 5,400. So I think I moved up about 100 or 200 spots or something along those lines. So, just been ticking along. I think I've moved up to about 3,000 spots in the last, 5 or 6 weeks or something like that. So, I don't know. Aiming for a respectable finish, but that's about all I can hope for this year.
I didn't say as well, I'm ranked 719 overall as well. Went down about 160 spots.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, Bails, I'm going to hand it over to you in just a second for the Content Creators Cup results, mate, because I'm sure you are all over it before I do. The AFL Fantasy Content Creators Cup is proudly brought to you by Infinite Wealth. Make smarter financial decisions, where winning coaches will get $5,000 for their favourite charity. And this special announcement, we got a live event in WA only, that is. It's going to be at the Camfield. It's called our one-day intensive on Saturday, the 31st of August. It's the bye week, so no one's got any footy on that week. It'll be an 8:30 registration in the morning, 9 a.m. start, and it'll finish at 6 p.m. at the. It goes all day. Essentially, this is the live event where I teach my clients pretty much everything I know. Now, basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow for AFL fantasy coaches to come as like an observer, basically not as one of our clients, but as an observer, and they get a free ticket. And keep in mind, this is an event that my clients pay thousands of dollars to attend. So, a couple of things, as an example that I'll be teaching people is if you have a mortgage, I'll teach you how to pay it off up to 3 times faster without paying a single cent extra. If you're paying too much tax, I can teach you how to save thousands each year. If you're someone who's committed to building your wealth, and I can also show you how I bought 13 properties by the age of 27. So just head across to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy to claim your free financial freedom masterclass and a stack of tools and resources to take you make smarter financial decisions. And I'll send you an exclusive invite in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, just head to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL Fantasy to claim and for more details. All right, well, let's kick it off with the game. Starting off on, hang on, the Content Creators Cup. That's right.
You missed their plus and minus threes, mate.
Oh yeah, I did too, man. I've been off with this. I've been
a bit rusty.
Weeks. A bit rusty. All right, well, let's finish up the Content Creators Cup. We'll go back and do the plus threes and negative threes in a minute.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we obviously had the finals beginning this week, the top 8. So we'll go through the results, starting with the qualifying finals. And upset, Warndog beat Mitch 25-19 to 24-71 for Mitch. So Warnie is through to the preliminary final after sneaking into the 4 last week. So Warnie be very, very happy there. I got the job done over Jet by 20 points. Some will say kissed, as I would have lost to everyone else in the top 8 except Jet. But at the end of the day, I had a pretty shit year last year in the Content Creators Cup, so I don't really care. I'm going to take it. So I'm through the prelim as well. The only bad thing is whoever Mitch comes up against next week, if he beats them, I'll be up against Mitch in the prelim. So that might be not great for me. But Roy got the job done over Nathan, 24-76 to 24-21 there. And another upset, DC goes down to Luke from the Ball Boys, 24-58 to 24-17. So Luke goes through, and if I'm correct, I think it might actually mean that Luke is up against Mitch in the semi-final next week. So that will be quite interesting. And then I think it'll be Roy up against Jeppa, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, we'll obviously be looking forward to those. We'll obviously chat a little bit more about the matchups maybe on a Tuesday or something when we sort of know who's up against who. But, yeah, they're the scores. But then also shout out to someone that was in the not in the top 8, but Jake, who got very unlucky with the matchup, scored a 25-24 this week, which was massive. That would have put him definitely inside the top 1,000 for the week, maybe even top 500. So shout out to him for that massive score.
Who was he up against this week, Bails?
I don't know. This guy called Guesty's Gerbil. Yeah.
Quite comfortably sitting down there at 16th or 17th in the Content Creators Cup this year. I'm effectively Bails the buy this year, but anyway, well, at least one of us was at the top last year, and representing the pod. But mate, also, why don't you tell the people about? Well, I think 2 people that we'll be interested in. Firstly, the People's Hat, i.e., Roy DT. Did you know where he's overall ranking after the weekend?
So Mitch obviously still 6th overall. Then you got Roy's 147th overall, so he's still well and truly in the mix. I fell down obviously to 719, so I'm probably out of it. And then you've got Jake and Warnie and Jake are just inside the top 1,000 as well, as the coach is inside the top 1,000 there.
All right, and now we'll pivot back to the +3 and -3s. So, Bails, do you want to go first? You probably know who's yours are, so you can kick us off.
Yeah, cool. So I'm actually going to give my +3. Obviously, it's a big week, a lot of big scorers this week, and there's a plethora of players I can give it to. Obviously, shout out to Sheasel on debut as well, re-debut for me with a 118. But I'm actually going to give my +3 to Toby Green. 103, sort of wasn't expecting him to go as well as he did. That's his 2nd ton for the year against Melbourne. So looked pretty good. And I'll definitely take 103. I would have got a 72 from Dowling anyway, so it's not too bad. But yeah, F6 has been a bit obviously the problem position this year, and getting a 103 from Toby Green was pretty good. And -3, there's a few key guys unfortunately down this week, and probably the key one of all of them, unfortunately, was Luke Ryan, 63. I've known that he's just been poor since the bye. Obviously, and I got a bone to pick with Freo as well. Like, I understand that, like, since Longmuir said we don't want people getting stats and sort of stat filling. I get that, right? There's countless times in the game where a good decision for Freo would be to switch the ball, and they can use Ryan, they might not, but they don't actually switch the ball anymore. Like, they actually they go full pelt the whole game. Even with like 2 minutes to go against West Coast, you think, okay, put the queue in the rack, no injuries, let's just get to next week. No, they're still trying to kick goals. And Jordan Clark instead's the one that gets a little bit of junk at the end. So, yeah, Ryan's got to go. Simple as that. And yeah, hopefully get rid of him this week.
All right. Jaden, over to you, mate.
Yeah, +3 goes for me to this random North fan on Twitter who said something about Tom Powell and the fact that he could be a replacement down in the backline this week, based on the ins and outs. So I'm glad I saw that. Gave Tom Powell the loop on the bench and delivered with a 122. So that's the reason why I scored so highly this week. No mucking around at F6, just keep Tom Powell there and hope that he does that every week. And the -3, I did mention it before, but it has to go to myself for mucking up a very basic programming problem to figure out my trades. So yeah, I'm not blaming Jordan Ridley for getting injured. Like, can't do anything about that. So that's all on me.
Sure, mate. No dramas at all. All right. Well, +3, -3 for me. Well, I'm probably going to split my +3 between my 2 trade-ins this week. Tom Stewart and Josh Dunkley both went in going 120+. So yeah, traded out Luke Ryan for Tom Stewart, and then traded out Butters for Dunkley. So pretty happy with both those trades. But my -3 would definitely have to be Connor Rosey with a 75. I mean, once again, that midfield's kind of stinking it up a bit, but mean, I had 4 go, under 100, but Connor Rosie 75 was the worst of them and the worst score on my field. So he can take my -3. All right, enough about teams. Let's talk about the games, hey? Friday night, Carlton defeated by Port by 14 points at Marvel Stadium in front of 40,000 people. A couple of late change here with Harry Mackay out with illness, being replaced by Lewis Young. Then subs for this game were Jack Carroll, who replaced David Cunningham in the first quarter after he injured his shoulder, and Quinton Narkle replaced Lockie Jones in the final quarter. No injuries to mention here for Port Adelaide. Over to you, Bails.
Cool. Top scorer in this game, Charlie Curnow, 113 points. Looked really good. 19 kicks, 0 handballs, exactly what you'd like to see. And obviously, you'd expect that more from a key forward. But Jane, what are your thoughts about him as an F7? He's still going to be 650, 660, somewhere around that price. And he's got some decent matchups to come. Obviously, Collingwood next week, who obviously got a few injuries. And he's got, I think, in the Hawthorn, then he's got West Coast, I believe. So is he someone that would be sort of that typical F7 that maybe can pop a big score that you can loop on?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just looking here. I think that Port Adelaide matchup was actually fairly good. Hypothetically, last week would have been the play. I think for his price, though, yeah, it's a good option if you can get him as a 23rd. He's going to be highly variable, so it'd be an F7, not F6.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask you that. Would you trust him at F6? But I probably agree. It's probably a bit. He dropped back-to-back 40s before this week or the week before, so he can put up those really bad scores there. Nick Newman, Tim, scored 100. He's got a good run come up, and we know what he did last year. Is he someone that you might target in your defence? Oh, he's on mute, so he might be busy. I've got to go, Jaden.
No, sorry, I was just on mute. Apologies. Yeah, look, I mean, probably the weak link back there for me is Hayden Young. I haven't really had a look at what his run is coming up, but I'm certainly looking at doing something with Hayden Young. Nick Newman's certainly in the mix there, so I'll be considering him. What do you think, Buzz, of Nick Newman?
I think he's a good pick. He's someone I'll be looking at bringing in this week. If I target a defender, I think he's got a pretty decent run. And Jaden, obviously you're the stats man and you got your projections stuff. Is he someone that's got a pretty good last month of the season?
Yeah, the Port matchup, like doing well in that. That's his really difficult matchup gone. So if you're going to do it, you have to do it this week against Collingwood because this is the best. He does have the Saints in the final round, but if you want to do it this week. And hold him for the rest of the year.
Yeah. So Collingwood probably second best behind St Kilda for matchups for designated kickers?
Yeah, I think so. I've got Newman like my third highest defender projection this week. So get on.
Cool. Yep, beautiful. I'm jumping on. Walsh got 98 there in a tough matchup. Had 11 tackles there to get there as well. So at least he got to a solid score in a tough matchup. Butters got a 92 as well. Sound like to me like the tag from Chincotta sort of varied from Butters to Rosie at times throughout the game. And then obviously had Rosie down at 75. And then just a lot of middling scores from a few other players like any Elijah Hollands or Boak owners F6, 87 and 83 respectively. You had Cripps got a 78. Obviously low score for him. Houston 78. As I mentioned, Rosie 75, Kennedy 73. So just a few weird scores. Then obviously Evans with a 50 didn't quite get it done in the first game if anyone was looping him on. So perfect. Tim, we'll move on to the Saturday games.
Yeah, North defeated by Geelong by 40 points at Blundstone Arena. Subs for this game, Zane Dersma, who replaced Robert Hanson Jr. in the third quarter. And then Ted Closey replaced Gary Rowan in the third quarter. No injuries here for North Melbourne, but Gary Rowan was concussed there.
Yeah. Tristan Cherry, 156. We all knew he was going to go big. I don't know if I was expecting a 156. He's a player. If I own him in my team, I love watching him. As a non-owner, I despise watching North Melbourne because he just tackles anything that moves, which is great for fantasy, but not good if you're a non-owner. So that one stung, especially as a popular VC as well. A lot of people had him there. Tom Powell, as you mentioned, Jane, as well, 122 was really good, getting plenty of the ball there. Tom Stewart, 122 as well. He was also very good. And then Harry Sheezel, 118. Obviously, Geelong's a good matchup. He does have Richmond this week. So if you don't have Harry Sheezel, I think you need to get him in by this week. Otherwise, you are missing out on some big scores there. Brian Myers got a 98, pretty solid score there, along with Jai Simpkin with a 92 there as well. Max Holmes got a 94 as well, which is pretty solid there. But Jai Simpkin, Joan, just want to chat a bit about him. So obviously people with this F6 spot are sort of going, who are we going to get in this spot? I think North's run does open up. Is Simpkin a guy that, if you don't already own him, is he someone that you're looking at as the F6 spot, or do you think there are other options you'd prefer?
Well, for me, he's F5 in my own team, and he has been for a long time because of that run you said. It's kind of already started. The Geelong matchup, really good for inside midfielders. Played a fair bit of inside mid, so yeah, I think he's comfortably top 6. And yeah, another good projection this week coming up against Richmond. So yeah, if you don't have him, he's still quite cheap.
Yeah, agreed.
No,
I think he's
West
a good
Coast
option.
following week as well.
Yeah, exactly. Going to be very interesting to see how all those North players go over the next few weeks. Lawson Humphries as well got a 73. I think he's still decent enough to loop at M9 or D7, wherever you're looping him. Plays the Twilight game on Saturday, so you might be able to loop him. But a lot of our looping options actually coming out this week. Just a bit of a flag for everyone. A lot of them actually play early in the round, like a Richmond play first game Saturday, West Coast play Friday night. So just something to note with your loops for the upcoming week there. Mana got a 63 as well. And that was about it from that game, I reckon. So I think we'll move on to the next game.
All right, well, Gold Coast had their winning streak at home broken by Brisbane by 28 points in front of 21,000 people at People's First Stadium. Subs for this game: Tom Berry replaced Ned Moyle at three-quarter time, and Connor McKenna replaced Shadow Brain at three-quarter time also. Just something to note from the match review: Bodie Ulland got 1 week for rough conduct on Lachie Neale.
Yeah. So plenty of big scores for Brisbane here, much like the first time they met earlier in the year. So you had a Dane Zorko, 139, went big. Any VCs from him, if they missed Cherry, would be pretty happy. They got the 139 there. Lachie Neale with a 129, Josh Dunkley, 128. Even Dusty Wilmot there for draft coach got a 114 there. Flanders backed up his big score last week with a 113 as well. Then you had a Berry 110, Rayner 107, and McCluggage 105. And the reason I'm mentioning all those midfielders is that, Jaden, obviously we know that Gold Coast was a tough matchup in the beginning of the year for midfielders, but has that matchup eased up over the last little bit? Because it seems like Gold Coast giving up some big scores, obviously, with a few of these Brisbane guys going big this week.
Yeah, they were really hard at the start of the year. It has opened up. The thing that I picked up on is that the Suns midfield is fairly good. So they don't give up a lot of points at stoppage, but it's around the ground where the mids can get a lot of points. I think in this game, I'm pretty sure Dunkley, I'm not sure, or maybe that was last week. I think Dunkley and Neale weren't up the top originally, and then they did really well in the second half, or maybe not.
Yeah, no. So Dunkley had 46 points in the last quarter, obviously helped by that late goal that he kicked. Neale had 24, but then in the third quarter, Neale had a 40-point quarter. So like they both had big quarters in the second half. Like Dunkley had a 47-point second quarter, and like Lachie Neale had a couple of 30. So it seemed like it was probably certain quarters where one would get off the chain, the other one would be okay.
Yeah, so the thing to note about Gold Coast is they won't give up the points at stoppage. So I'm talking more about the first half when the game wasn't over. But yeah, they weren't giving up the points at the stoppages, but around the ground you could benefit. So that's why Zorko and McCluggage and even Wilmot and Berry had pretty good starts to the game. And then once the game was over, Neale and Dunkley had those massive quarters.
Yeah, so obviously they've got a bit of a easier run coming up now. Obviously, Giants is probably the one tough matchup in a couple of weeks, but besides that, they could be pretty good. So you could target those guys. Noah Anderson, Tim, scored just the 85. Obviously, tough matchup against Brisbane there, but he's got a pretty good run coming up and could be a unique pick that a few coaches look to. Is he someone that obviously you're trying to climb inside the top 5K and 4K and try and go as high as you can? Is he someone that you might be looking at in your midfield?
Well, you would think, I'm not sure his ownership, but you'd think he's pretty lowly owned. And then have a listen to this run. West Coast, Essendon, Melbourne and Richmond, all very positive matchups for inside mids. So you'd think he's probably got one of the best runs of of inside mids to finish the year. So I think he's definitely going to be high on the hit list.
Yep, I agree. Jaden, is he up high on your projections rest of the season?
Yeah, definitely. It was just getting through this Brisbane game, and now, now definitely a target. Exactly the same as Newman, pretty much. You just want to get him this week.
Yep, agreed. And hopefully I'll be get him in, but we'll go through my trades after Tim, because we know that I've always got my trades done before the podcast has even started. So,
Of course.
Perfect. I reckon that was about it from that game. So we'll move on to the other game that was at the same time. Very weird that you had Twilight games at the same time. But anyway.
St Kilda defeated Essendon by 53 points in front of 40,000 people at Marvel Stadium. Subs here were Hugo Garcia, who went unused, and then Archie Perkins replaced Jordan Ridley in the third quarter after he was subbed out with that corked hit.
Yeah. And the guy that was probably very unlucky that I'll start off from getting my -3. He was lucky that Luke Ryan went so poorly in Freo, just not switching. But what the bloody hell's that, Merritt? Like, seriously, this guy has not been able to play 4 quarters all season. And I thought, I know he got this tag from Stocker for most of the game. And I thought, okay, well, if he can get a 120 or whatever, then he was on track. He was 75 at half time. He had 22 points the second half. And he did this a couple weeks against Geelong, where he got a tag. So just can't send a shot the tag. I know the Bombers were bad, but come on, Merritt. You've been a perennial 110 plus averaging player. You've been one of the best fantasy players over the past decade, and you can't put a 4-quarter performance together. You should be ashamed of yourself, mate. Bloody cost me top 100 hat. But anyway, Ryan Marshall, 135 was massive. Took 10 marks, and this was a difficult matchup as well from what I saw. So he was very, very good there. Nasai Wang and Miller got a 113 along with a Sinclair 104. So both very good. Jack Steele, 112, had a 60-point third quarter with 3 goals. I don't reckon Steele's he surely hasn't kicked 3 goals in a game, let alone in a quarter. So he was very good for his owners there. As I mentioned, Merritt got a 97 there. Then you had a Nick Mart with an 87, was okay. And then a Wood got 79 points there as well. And Caldwell was a bit quiet with 72. So, Jaden, did you see anything that we'd Parish back? Was this just a poor game from Essendon, which meant that Caldwell scored poorly? Or do you think that it correlated a little bit with Parish coming back? What did you make of Caldwell's game?
I mentioned this midweek and copped quite a bit of flack for it, but pretty much Essendon have played every single possible amazing matchup in a row. So they played West Coast, they played Geelong, they played Collingwood, they played Carlton, they played Adelaide all in a row. And Caldwell was amazing, but now that's over. So now the Bombers have the worst run home comfortably, especially for players like Caldwell who rely a lot at stoppage. So I'm not that surprised that Merritt and Caldwell struggled. Obviously, they did get smashed, but unfortunately, there's just no one else to trade him to. But if there was, I would definitely have gotten off last week when he was almost $1 million because the run is just absolutely terrible. And he's really expensive because of the fact he played every possible amazing matchup all in a row. Unfortunately, no one accepted my trade for him in draft. I was trying to offload him. I was like, can you please give me a premium mid, someone? But I don't think people pay much attention to draft trades. So unfortunately, it didn't work out.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, yeah. I've noticed that in a few draft leagues as well. Not many trades going on there. And then Tim, your boy Gavin, good score for him, and obviously Sinclair scored well as well. So they've got every game for the rest of the season at Marvel. They got Brisbane this week. Then they go into, I believe it's Geelong and Richmond in the following 2 weeks. Are you targeting any of these boys, and in particular, you targeting your mate Gavin?
No. Look, I mean, I don't like the Geelong and the Carlton matchups towards the end of the year. So, for those of you playing finals or trying to finish strongly, I'm not sure that that's who I'd be jumping into. I don't really like his run, to be perfectly honest. So, he wasn't really on in consideration for me, but
yeah, fair enough. Perfect. We'll move on to the Saturday night games.
All right, Melbourne defeated by GWS by 2 points in front of 16,000 people at the MCG. No, hang on, was it the MCG? Yeah, it was. Jesus, 16,000 people. It's a Melbourne crowd, Jesus. Subs for this game. Daniel Turner replaced Jack Billings at 3-quarter time, and Joe Fonte was unused. No injuries to note from this game.
Yeah. Well, one guy I was very happy picking up off the draft scrap heap a couple of weeks ago was James Peatling. Chucked him on the bench and had to play him this week, so I had a few people out. And 133 points. If if we knew Cogs wasn't coming back this week or he was out for the season, I think Peatling could be our answer at F6. But unfortunately, Cogs a test this week, and I think Kelly's 2 weeks away. So unfortunately, I don't know if we can go there. But I don't think he's going anywhere out of the team because he was massive. He got 2 on the balls in the last sort of 2 or 3 minutes that helped sort of save Melbourne getting on the attack. So he was massive. But I don't know if we are looking at him, unfortunately. Lockie Whitfield, 127 with the Neil Bullen tag on and off for the game. He was very good there. Again, still only 2 games below 120 since the bye, and both those were hundreds against Sydney and Carlton, who were tough matchups. He was good once again. I think Finn Callahan had his best career game as well, the 121 there. Tom Green, 105 as well. Toby Green, 103. And then Clayton Oliver turned up, which we haven't seen too much of this year, but he was actually a bit better in this game than what he has been. Trent Rivers got the Bedford tag after quarter time. He was on 52 at quarter time. Then he only ended up on an 89 there. Max Gawn, 79, Jaden. So obviously first game back, sort of looked a little bit rusty, sort of looked like he was still carrying a little bit there. Obviously, he's going to drop a fair bit in cash. Are you still watching and seeing how he goes, or did it maybe this game sort of go, no, I'm probably not going to look at Gawn for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think it's probably out of reach now with Gawn. Unfortunately, I had him quite high projected, but that's just down to him being not underdone, but yeah, a bit sore. The GWS matchup's been pretty good for Rux this year. He's got Tim English this week, so these were the 2 games where he could go big, and then after that, it's really hard. So unless you want to trade him in this week with a pretty much maybe close to the most expensive ruck, and then not a great run in the back end of the finals, I think he's probably a pass.
Yeah, and I think with all these strong rucks scoring well, Cherry, Marshall, English is still going okay, and like Grundy did pretty well as well today. So a few of these guys going quite well. I don't think we're going to be looking at him. I think I agree with that one. Beautiful, Tim. We'll move on to the fiery game of the weekend.
Yeah, the Demolition Derby. Hey, Freo defeated West Coast by 35 points.
Good to see a bit of fire.
Yeah, it's always also good to notice that Freo can't even sell out a derby. 57,000 people at Optus Stadium there, a little deep for me. It's still a bit dirty about the loss, but whatever. Substitutes, James Aish replaced the dirty Nat 5 who got rubbed out for striking in the 4th quarter, and then Jai Cully, the guy he hit, replaced Zane True in the 1st quarter after he injured his neck. So Nat 5 out for 1 match, Jack Petrilli out for 1 match, and Jack Hutchinson out for 1 match. Man, it was fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Just frustrating that, again, Hutchinson plays early in the round because you can't even use him for a loop for much this week. But yeah, so a few of the scores for this game. So Andrew Brayshaw, who has been very good the last 6 weeks, another good score, 115. I think it's now 4 scores over 115 his past 6 weeks, so he's been very good. Elliot Yeo was also good in this game with a 112. Caleb Sarong scored 100 and got his 3rd. Is it Glenn? I think Glenn Delling medal is what it is. So he's almost, I think Hazelby's got the most with 4. So he's right there, and Sarong's still quite young. So we'll see if he can. I'm sure he'll probably pass Hazelby at the end. Hayden Young scored a 91. Was looking bigger, but then a bit sort of not great sort of last quarter, especially last quarter, but second half was a bit quiet. Is he still a hold for you, Jaden? I think they've got Essendon and Geelong, who I think Essendon have been a little bit better for mids, and Geelong obviously have been a good matchup. Is he a hold over the next fortnight still for you, or are you still happy to move him on?
Yeah, I'm going to hold him still. Like he's still playing as a midfielder, so that's probably enough for me. They didn't have the best, so opposite to what Caldwell had, where it was just perfect matchup every week. They actually just had terrible matchups every week, so they have struggled a bit, Sarong and Young, over the past maybe month or so. But now they've kind of got a bit better. So unfortunately, this game was like the 12th lowest scoring game for the year. So there just wasn't a lot of points to go around. Freo have been doing that a bit lately. That Hawthorn game a couple of weeks ago where no player got 25 touches, like just completely weird. But yeah, I'm happy to hold, and I have Ridley, so that's a big issue.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Jordan Clark as well got a 90. Got there with 40-point last quarter with a bit of junk. Bloody Luke Ryan. Why couldn't he get some of this? Anyway, I'm going to get myself too worked up. Then we had Harley Reid got a 78 for any draft coach has still got him out there, and it was a bit of the center of a bit of the niggle going on from the Freo guys there as well. Jackson got a 67 there, and then Luke Ryan got a 63. Tim, trade out for you. Obviously, you traded him last week, but for any of those coaches that still got him.
Oh, yeah, look, that Freo game style, definite change. I mean, it makes you wonder whether they were... I mean, it's so different to the way that it was at the beginning of the year. And that was so different to how, Jeppa said he saw them training pre-season. So I wonder if it's a bit of a strategy to kind of conserve their energy at the early stages of the season. And then, in the run to finals, really fire things up in terms of their game speed. So, yeah, I'd be getting off.
Yeah, bloody. I think they've taken Justin Longmuir's comments too literally. Like they don't, as I said, they don't switch it anymore. Like it's frustrating. But hey, Freo going very well. They're only 6 points off of first, so who knows what's going to happen because Sydney have struggled, which obviously we'll get to that game very soon. But I reckon that's it from that game. So we will move on to the Sunday games.
Yeah, great. As we turn our attention to the Sunday games, just a reminder, if you're joining us live on X or YouTube, let us know your questions by commenting on those platforms, and we'll get through as many as we can at the end. But yeah, the next game, Collingwood defeated Richmond by 26 points at the MCG. Subs for this game were Lockie Sullivan, who replaced Scotty Pendlebury as a tactical sub in the fourth quarter, and then Thompson Dow replaced Tim Taranto, who injured his back in the third quarter.
Yeah, so Tim Taranto probably going to be one that we'll watch for next year. Will be quite cheap. I don't know how bad the injury was, but back spasms, I think, is what I heard as well. Concussion, maybe it might miss next week, and who knows if it's longer than that. But this is a part of actually, funny enough, wanted to talk about this whole podcast because I want to get Jaden's thoughts on it. So Nick Dacos, 128, great score. Played Richmond this week, 42 disposals. He was just, very, very good, especially that first quarter. I think he had 18 disposals. But I want to ask you, Jaden, about his next 4 weeks because I've looked at it. He's got 4, I think, tags probably coming up in Chincotta this week, then Sydney the week after, could be any one of a host of players, then Brisbane, probably the one matchup he might not get anything, and then Melbourne where Neil Bullen. Is he a guy that highly owned? Most people aren't probably going to look at trading him because of the 128, and maybe they've got a Luke Ryan or they've got other issues, maybe F6 or whatever they want to fix up. Is Dacos someone, if you wanted to gain ground or you didn't have any other issues, is he something you could trade out this week?
I think so. If you can do it, I'm not saying everyone should do it, but I'm saying if you feel like you need to do something different, it could be a player just based on that, because no one will think of it. Like even the projections wouldn't think of it because of the tags and stuff. But if you think you can see that happening, then yeah, definitely. I think, the issue for him this year has just been kind of carrying the whole team. So if they can shut him down, then I can't see us winning a game. So they really should do that. And yeah, if you are in a position where you could, you just have to be pretty careful about who you're bringing in, and really with the fixture analysis that you do, you just want to make sure you don't muck around with it too much, because like even though he is potentially getting Chincotta this week, like he is a midfielder and Carlton are a very high stoppage team, so he's going to be around the ball a bit. Just things like that might not be reflected in tags, and if it doesn't happen, then you could be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah. What do the projections say without the tags? Obviously, projected without tags. What do they say in terms of his 4? Because they sort of seem a bit tricky as well, even without the tags.
Yeah. Well, actually, his last game is really good, but the next 3 are all under 98. So based on next 3 games, he's D7. So I think there's 6 better options than him in Sheasel, Young, Whitfield, Richards, Stewart and Newman all above him. So there you go. Maybe it is an option.
Yeah, exactly. That's something I'm potentially looking at this week as someone that needs a bit of a Hail Mary to try and make up a little bit of ground as well there. Josh Dacos also scored at 111 there, so good for draft coaches. Darcy Cameron, even with Mason Cox back, still turned up with a 105 with a ruckless Richmond there. Jack Bartel, if anyone had him on the bench, got an 84. One of the Warn Dogs still got him sitting on the bench there. Then, Jack Chris 65. Obviously, those scores have just completely dried up since Pendles and DeGoey been back. But funny enough, obviously, Pendlebury was injured and DeGoey was a lay out as well. So interesting that he still didn't score as well, even with no DeGoey. And then I think it's probably better because there's probably not too. And then obviously Trento got 40, obviously with the injury there as well. So beautiful. Move on to the next game, Tim.
Great. Well, Sydney defeated by Western Bulldogs by 39 points in front of 36,000 people at the SCG. Subs to this game, Luke Parker replaced Lewis Melican in the second quarter after he injured his right hamstring, and Caleb Daniel replaced Nick Caulfield in the final quarter.
Yeah. So top scorer in this game, Matty Roberts, 138. What a massive score that was. 36 disposals against the Dogs and kicked a goal as well. So he was very, very good there. Errol Goulden and Ed Richards both scoring 114 there. My heart, I was walking into the Crows game and I see on the app, Errol Goulden just came off with an injury, and I thought I was going to be in a shit mood already, but thankfully came back on and scored pretty well there. Brady Grundy with a 109 with 43 hits and a good matchup. Heaney 108 there, and English got the 91 along with Dale, who got a 91 there as well. Bont got an 81 as well. Not a great score. Tim I think he's got a decent run coming up. Obviously, we're in luxury trade season. Is he a guy that you're probably just going to keep rolling with? I think they've got what they have next week. They've got Melbourne, then they've got the Crows, and they've got North. So 3 decent enough matchups. Is he a hold for you?
Oh, look, Melbourne's been a pretty decent matchup from inside bids at the moment. So I don't think you want to be trading him out this week.
Yeah, no, great. Could you target him with a good run coming up? I know he's been very up and down this year, but with 3 decent matchups, is he target?
Oh, look, I don't know, but I mean, this is, I guess, the ultimate kind of question in terms of this sort of week, right? I mean, we've got these midfielders, but the midfielders have been so up and down in terms of their performance. I mean, even the big dogs, right? It seems like the defense is almost where you're more solid in terms of getting your scoring. So, I was kind of, my ears pricked up in terms of Jaden's projections in terms of like Richards and Newman being in the top 6 there. I don't know, maybe he'd be willing to talk through his midfield as well, but I mean, there just seems to be, I don't know, I just don't have a lot of confidence in the midfielders.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I was going to go to Jaden for the next player because Adam Treloar obviously went really well in a tough matchup where we thought he was going to cop a bit of attention, but still had 40 disposals and a 125, and obviously we mentioned Bont there. Are these both options to, especially Treloar, obviously he's going very well. Are they both options to bring in? What are the projections say with their next sort of few matchups?
Yeah, I have them 1 and 2, and they have been for a few weeks now. So I'm really disappointed that I missed the chance to get Treloar just based on not double checking what I was doing. But they're the best 2 for the run home. They're on a great team for fantasy scoring. They've got a great midfield, and the run has been, kind of all right. I'd say middle, which is fine for them because they're such high scoring, and Bont is now close to 900k. Treloar's up near 1 million, so there's 50k between them. But you could honestly flip a coin and like Bont could just have a massive game this week against Melbourne. Both of them are pretty good options, I think, still.
Yeah. Does the projection say Bont 1 and Treloar 2, or the other way around?
As soon as Bont passed Treloar, so like when Treloar missed that game a few weeks ago, Bont went above him every week, and now they've swapped back over. So in that time, I think Treloar just went bang, 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 and Bont's just been like struggling a little bit. So now that they're swapped around, it'll probably be Bont that just comes out of nowhere and goes amazing. But Treloar number 1. The next 3 games is what you really want to target because they have the GWS in the last game. I think, GWS.
Yeah,
so it's the next 3. So you want to do it right now if you are going for them because that Sydney game is over. So unfortunately, we probably have a lot of planned trades that are right this week. Newman and these Dogs mids after Sydney, and there's a lot to think about.
Yeah, exactly. No, they'll be definitely on a lot of people's shopping lists for the upcoming for the next 3 games. And I think Bont has actually struggled a little bit against Giants. I think got a 70 early in the year. He normally cops attention from someone, so that will be something to watch in that final round as well. And beautiful, we'll finish off with the final game of the round, a disappointing one at that.
That's right. Your putrid Crows were defeated by the inform Hawks by 56 points in front of 41,000 people at Adelaide Oval. Late change for this game. Brodie Smith was out with an illness and was replaced by Dan Curtin. And then Dan Curtin was the sub who replaced Elliot Himmelberg in the third quarter. And Finn McGuinness replaced Luke Bruce at three-quarter time. Only real injury from this game was Jeff hurt his shoulder.
Yeah. Lockie Scholl, top scored. Been a pretty solid draft pick, to be fair. Another 120 points there. So he would have definitely won a few coaches some draft games throughout the season. So he's been really good in terms of scoring. Roy Laird, 113 in the absence of a few Crows soldiers there. Obviously, Dawson being the one that was out, but he stepped up with 29 disposals. O'Brien got a 112 as well, along with Connor McDonald, 110. Dylan Moore got an 89. Seemed like he played a lot better than an 89. I felt like I saw him all the time, but 89, you sort of definitely still take that in the forward line there. Billy Dowling got a 72 as well. So I want to ask about him, Jaden. So obviously a few people using him as this F6, F7 loop there. What does his sort of run home look like? Is he still a guy we can continue to roll there, or is there a way that you could maybe look at going up to a Kerno or something like that and use that F7 loop? What are your thoughts with Dowling?
He's been there and thereabouts. I think last week I had him at F12, and now he's down to F16. So he must have had a good matchup against Hawthorn. This week is good, 83.7. So you'd take that if he gave you that. But then after that, it's a bit tricky. So yeah, you could give him one more week, and then have a look after that. I'm not sure so he's got Geelong this week, and then after that it's Dogs, Port, and Sydney, who are all up the top of the ladder now. So I still have him, and I have Tom Power, so I'll keep picking between them. Hopefully Power plays defence against Richmond this week, but I'm more than happy to give Dowling a go, because I just don't want to waste a trade at F6 when it can go so horribly wrong. Like if I traded Power this week, then yeah, I would have been really annoyed. But I just don't think it's really worth a trade there when, in between each week, if there's a different person you need to be going. So you could just be trading every single week. And I think, when people are stuck with Luke Ryan and people like that, you just need to, I guess, maybe leave F6 alone and just, if there's not that much of a gap between F6 and F20, you might as well just stick with Dowling.
Yeah, I agree as well. He's going along very nicely. And as a Crows fan, he's one of the shining lights in a pretty bad year there. And anyone, probably not really anyone else. Tim, is there anyone from the game you want to touch on from the Crows or Hawthorn at all?
No, mate.
Yeah, no, I don't think there is. Good to see Lairdy get a good score. But I'm pretty sure actually Crow's midfield run is pretty tough, isn't it, Jaden, for rest of the year, I think, for Laird and Dawson?
I'll just pull it up. I haven't really seen their names populating at all. But yeah, pretty bad. Geelong this week's good. I'm pretty sure Laird will be in my top 10 this week. But after that, terrible. So if you've still got them or you've got them in draft, you can have a crack this week. But yeah, after that, don't want a piece of them.
Yeah, I agree. Beautiful. Alrighty, Tim, that's the games.
All right, why don't we get stuck into some questions, Bails? We've got a little bit of time before we need to wrap up.
Yep, cool. We got a couple of super chats here, so thank you very much to Tim Ashworth, who's got these ones here. So he sent a couple in. He said, so I'll just put, which one is the one I want to put up? Put this one up here. So he said, should I go Jackson to Myers and Clark to Stewart, or Young to Stewart? So Jackson to Myers, and then are you trading Young or Clark to Stewart, Jaden? Which would you prefer to trade? And do you like those trades, obviously, as well?
Yeah, pretty good. Jackson will struggle now with Darcy in the team. So I think my personal preference would be trading Clark. He had a good matchup against the Eagles. I guess so did Young. But then after now, the Freo matchups for scoring how Clark scored. Like Young will score at all the stoppages, and they've got Geelong coming up, which is great. But Clark really relied on some scoring right at the end to get up to that same 90. So I think he did that in a good matchup, and now after this week, he has no positive matchups left for the rest of the year. So I'd lean towards Clark out.
Yeah, and you'd be happy to jump on the Geelong duo of Myers and Stewart?
Yeah, Stewart is just a must, and I can't believe I don't own him. So yeah, get him now before it's too late.
Yeah, agreed. That role is very, very good. And the other thing I've noticed, well, with all the bloody commentators, they go on about like sort of let the players play and sort of let the best players showcase. But then I hear all the commentators saying, "Oh, you got to what are they going to do, Tom Stewart? They got to tag Tom Stewart moving forward." It's just like, well, no tags. We don't want tags, so hopefully no tags. It's going to be hard to top Tom Stewart in this role, to be fair. And then the next super chat from Power Prawn Star. Thank you very much, mate. Said, thoughts about the salary and magic number for next year? Feels like we all had too much money this year. Maybe keep the starting salary this time. So I did notice that a bit as well, Jaden. Obviously, that'll be a good discussion point to start next year. So what were your thoughts in terms of that and what you think it'll be looking like next year?
Yeah, I think there's a pretty simple answer to that this year, and that's just because the forward line was so cheap and people started a lot of rookies there. The rucks were also discounted. So it did feel like we had a lot of money. And personally, I used that at R3 and started Cherry there. And now I've still got him, so it worked pretty well. But it will be the same. I'm pretty sure it will be the same scenario next year. So each year you get 1750, I think it is. That's how many average points your starting squad will add up to. So yeah, like if Bond averages 110, then he'll be priced at 110, and that uses 110 out of the 1750 you start with. I can't see that changing because that's what it's been for a few years now. But again, the forward line, I think the forward line will be worse next year than what it was this year. So we've got no one. Like if you want Harry Mackay F1, you can have him, but I think it's going to be worse.
Not the only one.
It's going to be worse. Like you've got Bailey Smith, but like everyone, he doesn't fill 6 positions. Like I keep hearing Bailey Smith talk about like he's going to save the whole 4. You've still got 5 other spots, and there's no Heaney, there's no Flanders, there's no Caldwell, there's no Zorko. So yeah, that's all going to be.
She's going to play a lot of forward time, and then maybe he can be the guy. We'll chuck them.
Yeah, he's kind of like completely split at the moment between defender, mid, and forward. So I actually don't know what way that will land, but yeah, I think in terms of the overall salary, it's going to be even harder to fill next year because the forward line will be even cheaper, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree as well.
There was also a lot of bargains this year as well. Like, what price did Tom Green get down to? Like, there was a lot of players that dropped a lot in price. So that's
Rosie,
something that contributed to why we had so much cash.
Yeah, no,
it's a first world problem, really. Like we're just complaining for being too good, maybe.
Well, the other thing I do like about it is look how spread the teams are. Like, there's more variation in those top teams than I think we've seen in a number of years, and that's probably because we do have the luxury of having all that money.
Yeah, there was still like even in the 4 Content Creators Cup matchups, there was a good I'm just having a look here. So you still had at least I think 10 differences in most of the games except for Nathan and Roy, who had 5 or 6 different. So yeah, as you say, very, very different teams at this time of the year. And I did just see as well the matchups for next week as well for the Content Creators Cup. I'll say them at the very end because I am seeing what they are for next week. We'll go through a couple of questions before we finish up here. What have we got? So a lot of chat here. Appreciate everyone putting in their scores and ranks and stuff. Very much appreciated. So John's got his first question, first one here. He said, Jaden, who's the best replacement for Ridley under 750K given his cash drop?
All right. Well, I haven't run this with the new prices, but I'll just take a look at what there is.
We can do another question if you want, unless you got it up now, and we can just.
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate Ed Richards is over that now.
Sure. Well, Hayden Young, 762.
Yeah, I'm assuming everyone still has him. Yeah, maybe McKercher, if he's back against Richmond, or Fisher.
Yeah.
They're both under that. They're against Richmond this week. So if either of those are back, you could go for that. I don't really love much underneath that. So another one you could go, maybe Mason Redmond, 706. No Ridley against Freo this week, and they give up the most points to kick-ins. So if Redmond's on the kick-ins again, he could go really well. So they're probably the options I like the most under 750. But if you get to Ed Richards, then that's the main one.
Yeah. Tim, Fast Break Frenzy says, who's the priority? Dunkley, Treloar, or Ryan Marshall? Who are you picking out of the three?
Oh, that's a really tough question. Oh, probably. Hang on, what's his run like? But my first Brisbane this week, Oscar. It's probably a bit tough. Is Oscar a bit tough for Ruckman at the moment? Yeah, I know he used to be. I mean, my first instinct is Rowan Marshall, right? He's been averaging over the last, 5 rounds or something, 123, something like that. So, I mean, Treloar and Dunk's not far off. And I think, in between that kind of 115 to 120 mark. Look, I guess you got to look at the differential as well, like who you're trading out. Like,
Yeah, I was going to say you're trading out.
Yeah, because I mean, it's who's the bigger upgrade, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess it might be like an English to a Marshall, where you might be going like a Luke Ryan or something to a Duncan Troy. I'd much rather go a Luke Ryan out, because you're going to get a lot more points there. So, and obviously Jaden said before that Treloar is the number one projected play for rest of, or at least for the next 3 weeks at least. So yeah, Treloar would be probably the pick if you're getting a midfielder. But yeah, Ron Marshall, I think he's got Geelong Carlton to finish the year as well, so you definitely want him for those last 2 matchups there. Sean Lawson says, is English to Marshall a priority, Jaden? Would that be something you'd be looking at doing?
Yeah, as a Marshall owner, when Gawn was out, I went via Meek for 1 week because I wasn't sure on English versus Marshall. And yeah, English's good matchups are finished, and now Marshall has those ones coming up. So I think it's a pretty good move. Let me just look at who English has got, because yeah, as a Marshall owner, I'm definitely very well aware of who he's got coming up. But yeah, English doesn't look good, especially the Cherry matchup in the prelim week for fantasy. That's like, they're the type of rucks that you don't want English to play against. Cherry and Riley O'Brien are like 2 of the best in the comp at stoppages, but English does everything else around the ground. So if he can't get anything at stoppage, then he's going to struggle.
Yeah, I think is what the Gawn matchup going to be a bit. I think he's normally had a good history against Gawn. He's normally done okay, especially if English Gawn's battered as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, you could have another week and wait. Unfortunately, Marshall's quite a bit more expensive now, so yeah. But I think you'll definitely want Marshall at least in round 23, where English has the Cherry matchup and Marshall goes into Geelong, so that'll be crazy difference by then.
Yeah, exactly. Tim Lu Wawu has said trading Luke Ryan finally. He's got Young, Dacos, Whitfield, Sheasel, and Martin already. Who would you be trading Ryan to, Jaden? So who would you have up the top there? Is that like a Nick Newman? Is he the next one there that you'd have on the projections?
Yeah, well, stealing Jaden's notes from before, it was Ed Richards or Nick Newman. So
yeah, Ed Richards.
Yeah, that's where I'd be looking.
Yeah, one of those sounds all right.
Who would you guys be going at, Newman and Richards?
Was there a price difference?
There is. Personally, I'd probably go Newman. At this point of the year, you want someone with a bit of ceiling, and the Dogs are still running 4 mids with Liver as well, so that can fluctuate a bit week to week, and they did smash Sydney, so Richards was given a bit of boost for that. But yeah, I'd probably go Newman just for that ceiling aspect.
Yeah. Maltesing was also saying Pendles wasn't injured. Well, that don't blame me, blame us. Blame the AFL app, because it says people are injured when they're not. So, unfortunately, that was the case with that one there. And we'll go probably one final question. Yeah, a lot of people actually asking about the English to Marshall trade this week. That might be a common trade there. Matthew is Bails from SA. Yes, I am. It's unfortunately very cold at the moment. At the there. We'll finish off with this one. Tony Ford says, thoughts on Ryan to Treloar. and Showmaker to a red dot, Tim. So obviously you're happy enough to, as long as you got cover in each line, you're happy bringing in red dots at this time of the year?
Sorry, mate, you dropped out a little bit there. Who was it? Was it to show and make someone the Showmaker?
Yeah, Ryan to Trelaw, and then Showmaker to a red dot. So I guess we're definitely ticking off Ryan to Trelaw, but you're happy to bring in a red dot?
Oh, definitely. I'm bringing in red dots, primarily because I haven't got red dots to loop. So I'm going to be looking at a Hawthorn. It's a shame there's no ruck forward there in Hawthorn, but I'll probably bring in a Hawthorn forward or something along those lines, considering they play a lot of Sunday games from here.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I will go this one final one from Matthew R for Jaden. He said he's going to do one of the three trades. Which one is better? Butters to Trelaw, English to Marshall, or Young to Newman?
I reckon it'd be Butters to Trelaw, was it? Yeah. The thing about Butters that was interesting was like when I group all the players into similar groups for the projections, like Butters has been in the wing kind of classification a bit for a few weeks now because he's not really getting a lot of contested ball. He's relying a lot on handball receives and stuff like that. So he's not really that inside smashing mid that he was at the start of the year. So I think Butters to Trelaw. I got off Butters for that reason last week. And yeah, can't really go wrong with Trelaw, I don't think.
Yeah, agreed. And then Detachers also did say, English does have a good record against Max Gorn. He just checked there as well. We had one last super chat as well from Tim Ashwell. Just said, have you got any advice about getting my learners? Well, it's a few years actually since I got my learners. So I'll just say take the test and do the research and hope you get your learners, mate. So be beautiful. Alrighty, Tim, I reckon that's where we will wrap up. But before you do the sort of wrap up, I'll just say, the semi-final matchups for Content Creators Cup it's not Mitch against Roy. It is Mitch against Roy, not against Luke. So it's Mitch v. Roy and Jeppa v. Luke. So be interesting to see who gets the win there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming on tonight, Jaden. We really appreciate all the work that you do, mate. Where can the people find you? And is there anything you want to share with our listeners?
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me. You can find my stuff on my website, Starts by Jaden, or hit me up on Twitter. I'm happy to answer questions, things like that. So, it's going to be a fun end to the year, and I'm pretty excited for the finals to start in fantasy and in the AFL itself. Yeah, well, look, mate, your tweets are must read for me. So you're one of the few people that are on my notifications. So I read every tweet that you send out, mate. In particular, I really love your captain's projections. I mean, I think I remember from a couple of years ago, like just how reliable those captain projections really were. So, I use them up there with a couple other sources to make my decision every week. That's good. Yeah, Bails, anything you want to let the people know, mate?
Just before I do as well, Jade is up there with the experts with the in terms of projections and stuff with captains. So definitely,
I fell out of first place this week. I was like 400 points behind everyone else. Unfortunately, with mine, Cherry was in the top 5, but he wasn't because, like, retrospectively, if I run it now, he's in the top 5. But because of the team changes that happened with Dacos, he was there. It's unfortunate the comp wasn't there last year because I'm fairly certain I would have absolutely dominated last year, and that's the reason why the comp was set up. So there is a bit more of a legitimacy around it. So Nah. So it's unfortunate it didn't exist last year, but yeah. Well, no,
I think I heard you on one of the pods or something like that in the preseason, and you were doing some of your stats on your captains, and I was like, shit, like that's good stats. I think I'm just going to go that way this year, and I've stuck with it ever since. So it's done me well.
That's good.
All right.
I was just going to say in terms of stuff to plug, obviously Tuesday night Q&A that we always do at 9 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Perth time. And if anyone wants to ask any questions on Q, then head over to Ask Me on Q, spelled QU.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics in regards to any trade questions, draft-related questions, captain, vice captains. If you want my 2 cents worth, I'm not as good as Jaden's projections, but if you want my 2 cents worth, I can give you that. And then team-dependent questions, we can screenshot, send through the whole team, type it out, whatever you want to do. It does help support the channel with a small fee there, but it does give you an in-depth answer. If you'd like to do that, then feel free. But if not, tune into a Q&A on the Tuesday night and you can get your questions answered there as well. in terms of my early trade thoughts, I'm looking at going Luke Ryan out, definitely. And at the moment, I've got Dacos out as well after a big score. And I'm looking at bringing in a couple of Jaden's highly objective players in Nick Newman and Noah Anderson. So they're my early trade plans for the week.
Sure thought to last, mate. Jaden, any idea what you're doing this week?
I've got the forced trade in Wrigley, so I think I'll probably have to go to Ed Richards from a price-related aspect because Wrigley lost 50K. And yeah, I might go Noah as well. Not sure how to figure out the pricing of what I've got. But yeah, Tom Green could be an interesting one. I'm considering with his fixtures home. And he's up there in price now, so maybe that could be how I get the money.
Yeah, all right. Well, for me, like I'll be bringing in a red dot. I've got Philippou on the bench, so I'll need to bring that cash in so I can use for the last few weeks. And I think it'll be someone like a Rosie out to a Adam Treloar. But yeah, I'm going to figure out who that trade out is. But that'll be it for me. So thanks
Apparently,
to everyone.
Philippou might be back this week, Tim, as well. So,
Really?
yeah,
There
1
you
to
go.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Not last week. So you never
Look,
know.
I still want to get the cash on the field. Like I've got, anyway. That's to figure out during the week. Thanks to everyone for joining us, and a special thanks to those who sent in questions. My voice is almost dying after being sick for the last couple of weeks. Please follow, subscribe, and give us a 5-star review wherever you are joining us. And even though Bails gave it a bit of a plug, finally, don't forget to tune in live each week on X or YouTube, whether it's up to the final siren of the round, whether it's our Tuesday night Q&A or our Friday pre-lockout chat. Ray, straight away, best of luck with the research, and we will see you all next time. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.
See ya. And then thank you, everyone, for tuning in on YouTube. Make sure you smash a like on the video as well. Let's get to 100 likes on there as well. Make sure you do subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can hit 2.7K subscribers. Appreciate your support, guys. Catch you on Tuesday.